Okay, we'd like to call this meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everyone watching on ITV and via live stream and call the July 27th, 2021 regular meeting to order with all board members present in Zoom or in person. We ask that all in-person participants mute all of their devices and turn off their speakers to prevent echoes and feedback. And I would just comment, not everybody might have seen this, but the CDC today did make a recommendation that all people, including fully vaccinated people, wear masks indoors in areas that have a high spread of the virus, which includes San Diego County. So that's certainly not a mandate that we've established for tonight's meeting, but if people wanted to put their mask on, that would be consistent with the CDC's guidelines from today. Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Beiser.
Seconded.
Seconded by Vice President Whitehurst Payne. Trustee Patterson.
Aye.
Trustee Bazzo.
Aye.
Trustee McQuarrie.
Aye.
Trustee Beiser.
Aye.
Vice President Whitehurst Payne.
Aye.
And Barrera, aye. Today's meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting that is conducted in public. While the California Department of Public Health and County of San Diego directives prohibiting large public gatherings during the coronavirus outbreak are being relaxed, the Board of Education is accepting public testimony in person and via Zoom webinar for tonight's meeting. Board Bylaw 1025 sets the time limit for public comment on agenda items at 10 minutes per side, pro and con, or 20 minutes total. Speakers will be able to provide testimony at the beginning of the appropriate agenda item or at the end of the meeting for non-agenda public comment. The list of public speakers is attached to item B2. Speakers are listed and called in the order received. When your name is called, you will be allowed to speak. Please come to the podium or unmute yourself at that time. If you hear your name called and are unable to unmute yourself, we will call the next speaker. Once all speakers have been called for the item, your name will be called again. At that time, please unmute yourself. Zoom does not allow staff to access your personal device to unmute a speaker. If you signed up for a courtesy text reminder, staff will make every attempt to send it to the phone number you have provided in advance of the item being discussed. Please follow along with the agenda so that you know when your item is coming up for discussion. Okay, we'll start with item C2, and this is our recognition of employees for years of service. Superintendent.
Thank you very much, Board President Barrera. We have a great video, as we have in past board meetings, recognizing our employees for their years of service, 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And so at this time, we'd like to play a video and thank the HR staff, led by Acacia Thede, for their honoring of our employees. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Duke Tran, and I've been working in the Special Ed Translation Interpretation Department for San Diego Unified School District for the last 10 years. Yeah, with the 25 years of experience in working in interpretation sector, in immigration court, DMV, medical field, hospital, clinics, school districts, varieties of settings, I became aware that I need to put all the experience in servicing the Vietnamese community. I grew up in Vietnam and I came to this country back in 1979. And believe it or not, I should have realized my passion is in interpreting back in high school. I'm a Hoover alumni. I got called to the office quite often, not because I was in trouble, mind you, but because there were a lot of newcomers, and I would be asked to go to the office to help out. I feel like this is a God-given gift to me in language. And so I was able to help out a lot way back. I have a high expectation for my work. So every IEP meetings that I go to, or any of the meetings, I want to make sure that the parents thoroughly understand or understood the message and have that dialogue with the parents via interpretation, of course. But at the end of the day, I find it very rewarding, and it's a humbling experience. If I may say a short one in Vietnamese parents can see this, want to thank them that I able to provide them the service. Thì hôm nay là cái dịp để mà tôi mừng cái thập niên mà tôi đã làm việc với khu chánh San Diego. Tôi muốn cái dịp này để cảm ơn tất cả các phụ huynh cho tôi một cái dịp để mà làm việc với các anh chị, với các phụ huynh, hầu giúp cho con em của quý vị trong cái đường học vấn qua cái việc mà thông dịch của tôi trong những năm qua. Đây là một cái cảm nghiệm rất là quý, và tôi cảm ơn cái sự hỗ trợ của tất cả các phụ huynh, và cũng như chúc các phụ huynh tiếp may mắn trong cái đường giúp cho con mình trên đường học vấn và tìm hiểu những cái gì cần thiết cho con mình. Xin cảm ơn quý vị.
Well, that was fantastic. What a great person for our kids over so many years. Okay, item D1, we don't have a report out of closed session. And administrative assignments, Superintendent Jackson.
Thank you, President Barrera. We have a few tonight, and want to congratulate each and every person and the school site that will be welcoming new staff or district leaders. Vice Principal Dana Middle School, Michelle Perkins, congratulations. Vice Principal Lincoln High School, Lana Romanowski. I'd like to introduce Principal of Carson Elementary School, Lucille Real. Principal, Green Elementary School, Sarah Motzinger, congratulations. Principal, Clark Middle School, Stacy Simpson. And the principal for the San Diego Met, Robert Fong. Program manager for our department LGBTQIA plus advocacy and education, Maria Shembri. Congratulations and thank you for your continued work. Director of Due Process, Hearing and Mediation, Brian Spry, who will be continuing his work. And 3 positions that were approved by the board this evening: Executive Director, Leadership and Learning, Nicole DeWitt; Executive Director, Finance, Planning and Development, Jody Makalas; and the Interim Chief Operations Officer, Gary Patel. Again, congratulations to each and every one, and look forward to working closely with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Jackson, and congratulations again to all the appointees. Okay, we'll go straight into the superintendent's information report.
Thank you, As I begin this evening, President Barrera, Board Trustees, I would be remiss if we did not remember one of our former superintendents, Mr. Tom Pazant, who was a superintendent from 81 to 92. And he was a leader for all students, and he focused his work in urban settings. After leaving San Diego, he also served the Boston Public Schools for 11 years. And so 21 years of serving urban schools from the West Coast to the East Coast. I want to send condolences from us, the San Diego Unified family, to his family. And I would ask the board for 30 seconds for a moment of silence, if we may. Thank you. Thank you. I am honored to announce we have our summer commencement ceremony that will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, July 28th, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Marshall Field on the UCSD campus. We know that it's not Petco, but certainly want to thank our chancellor at UCSD, Pradeep Khosla, Dr. Khosla, and his team, entire team, supporting and creating this wonderful opportunity for our students so that we may celebrate our students who spent time this summer completing their coursework and meeting the graduation requirements. I would also like to share that we look forward to providing you a complete review of our summer experience, our academic experience, once we conclude later this month. So that is forthcoming. We are certainly committed to sharing our rigorous evaluation of our efforts that you drove and that we implemented. We appreciate that work, and I do want to express my gratitude to the entire team, the staff, for their continued work in the summer experience. And I want to make sure that all parents know that we still continue to provide opportunities for the summer experience and more opportunities at levelupsandiego.org. So go to the website and feel free to continue to have our students, your children, in this summer experience. At the same time, I'd like to express great gratitude to the San Diego Loyal local soccer team for creating an opportunity for our students this summer and our staff to come together and celebrate. We were able to go onto the USD campus and participate in one of the San Diego Loyal soccer games. And what a great experience, great comeback win. We were down 1-0, and I think 2 back-to-back scores, and we won that game. And what a great experience for our students, and pep rally before. And they got a chance to see an exhibition with some soccer athletes, which was great. And thank you to the San Diego Loyal for your commitment and celebrating our commitment and giving us a chance to see world-class soccer. So I want to share that. And for us, it is very clear the way in which we show up for our young people is exactly how they're going to show up for us, and they continue to do that. And this shows that San Diego Unified is an exceptional place, and the city of San Diego. So thank you all for supporting our summer experience. Level up, learning, and joy. And that's it for my report this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent. We'll move to board information reports, and we'll start with Trustee Beiser.
Thank you, President Barrera.
I was going to share some slides today of when I had visited several schools in Tierra Santa, but I decided that this evening I really wanted to talk about some startling data that has come out recently in media reports, and that is that 99% of all COVID deaths are people that are unvaccinated. In San Diego County, it was just reported that 89% of all new cases are unvaccinated people, and that over 97% of all people filling our hospitals again are unvaccinated people.
I'm sorry, Trustee Beiser. Trustee Beiser, could you just give me a second? We will conduct this meeting civilly. We will listen to each other, and we will not interrupt the speakers as they are speaking.
And speak the truth.
And we will remove you from this meeting if you attempt to disrupt this meeting. So we ask that people respect and listen to each other as we are speaking. Please go ahead, Trustee Beiser.
Thank you, President Barrera. So, you know, I've kind of been listening to the news reports lately about this information, and I think that this data is just startling, and I think it really demonstrates that the vaccine does work. And I would really encourage anybody that has been, you know, on the fence or thinking, well, maybe I should just wait and see. I think we've got, the numbers are in, the results are in, and it's really important that people please get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Beiser. We will now move on to our next board information report. Trustee Bazo.
Thank you, Trustee Beiser. And as public health educator, I support Trustee Beiser, and thank you for his comments. But I would also like to share, now as this is our last meeting before our summer hiatus, as a new school board member, that these last, what has it been, 6-7 months, have just been a whirlwind. I never thought I'd be starting this job in the middle of a pandemic, but I wanted to just share how much I've learned, and that I'm extremely proud to be a part of this school board, and I commend all of you, and I have had a wonderful time getting to know you so far, and you know, even through the challenges, it's been a learning experience along the way, but I feel very proud to be doing this with you, and also the district staff. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for helping me getting onboarded, and how proud I am to be here, and I'm looking forward to our work continuing in the fall.
So, Trustee Patterson.
Thank you, Trustee Beiser. I hope everyone's having a nice summer. I realized I didn't get to mention this earlier, so I wanted to quickly share with all of us the news of the landmark Supreme Court case of Mahanoy Area School District versus BL that we saw ruled in favor of students, looking in K-12 public schools and our effect on students' free speech rights. This incredible ruling, signifying where we are today, allows us to understand the unique role in supporting student voices like mine and so many others. Public schools are the nurseries of democracies, and schools have an interest in safeguarding that marketplace of ideas by protecting a student's opinion, whether popular or unpopular. And I want to highlight a line quoted in there that I think our district is going to be really exciting to move forward when we talk about saying, I might not agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to defend your right to say it either way. And I think that really moves towards what we've worked towards as a district in supporting student free speech rights. And I know I'm really looking forward to working with this district to ensure that every student does have that free speech right with this landmark decision that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Patterson. Trustee McQuarrie.
Got it. So I want to congratulate our summer graduates and the San Diego School District employees for achieving their 10, 20, 30, and 40 years of service. In addition, I want to thank district and school leadership, staff, students, family members, and all our stakeholders for our successful collaborative effort in getting us through a very trying year, returning students to in-person learning in the spring, initiating an incredible summer experience, and the excellent effort we're making to plan for a fall reopening. I want to thank everyone for the work that we've accomplished. I look forward to the work ahead. I look forward to having an exciting August break.
Thank you so much, Trustee McQuarrie. Vice President Whitehurst-Payne?
Thank you, Board President. I just wanted to comment on a couple of things. Number one, I did have my first experience going to a soccer game. And it was boring until after we left and I got home and they had won. So I don't know how that happened, but now it's made me curious and I want to go back and see another one. But anyway, that was a new experience, and I want to thank the loyalists or loyals or whatever they're called for helping us out and supporting our students, because they were really amazing with the support they gave to our students. And then I want to comment on Dr. Tom Payson, because I don't know why I missed that, but I didn't realize he had passed, but he was truly.
Dear Speaker on.
He was one of the best superintendents I've ever encountered, and just a good, I want to say a good human being. He was always kind and considerate, but firm when he needed to be, and he just mentored so many of us as we entered into administration. So my heartfelt condolences go out to his family, and I know when some of my other friends hear about that he's gone, others whom he helped, they will be sad also, but best wishes to him. And he gave this district a lot of his ideas, thoughts, and support. So we just want to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Yeah, and I appreciate Superintendent Jackson and Vice President Whitehurst-Payne. I never had the chance to meet Dr. Payson, but I've never heard of somebody who's been so universally respected and who, has so many people who talk about the impact that he made on their lives. An incredible leader in our district, and it's important that we recognize him, and we know an incredible leader for public education around the country. Yeah. So thank you. Okay, we will now move on to item E1, our student instructional matters, and this is an information item about our district's implementation of Assembly Bill 104. Superintendent?
Yeah, thank you very much, President Barrera, and I am honored to have Dr. Richardson, our high school area superintendent, who will be presenting on this matter. It's an update on the impact of AB 104, specifically looking at retention possibilities and also grading and fifth-year experiences. So thank you, Dr. Richardson, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can I get the presentation, please? Thank you, Superintendent Dr. Jackson and Board of Trustees. This is an information item on Assembly Bill 104. Next slide. There are three topics of this, as Dr. Jackson said: retention, pass, no pass, and graduation. This first one, pass, no pass, is on the slide you will see. This is really about our students who had coursework during the year 2020-2021 school year. And if they would like to change their grade, they can change to pass, no pass. All parents will be notified of the process and when we will begin that process, because there's a 15-day window that parents have to respond to the procedure. All CSUs are required to accept the pass, no pass, and the UCs have been requested. There are additional private universities, and there was a list on the website for AB 104 that will include that. Next slide. For retention, This is for our students who received a deficit grade. A deficit grade is defined, actually, a deficit grade for the least half of the year. And the grades are defined as TK through 5 would be receiving a mark of 1 or 2. For grades 6 through 12, marks D, F, no grade, or no credit. Parents will have to submit a written response for consultation with staff, and we will have to respond to them within 30 days. And then upon that consultation, we will have 10 days sharing what the results of that meeting was. And either way, whether we retain or do not retain, we have to provide supports to the students. Next slide. This is our graduation requirements, and actually, we have done a lot of this already, but it is for the school year 2020-2021. Any junior or senior could be issued a diploma that meets the minimum state requirements by the end of their senior year. Currently, our district counselors, our summer counselors, and registrars are reviewing student transcripts for the class of 2021, and will reach out to families if the students qualify for the high school diploma. Any questions?
Board members, any comments or questions on Aaron's presentation on AB 104? Yes, Trustee Patterson.
I really look forward to seeing this get implemented and move forward. I know one of the questions I had as we saw this bill move forward was how we were going to ensure that every single student had access to this information. I like this new addition of ensuring that we have registrars going and actually reviewing this data, so that ensures that there's actually no student that will be left behind in that. So compliments to the staff and the superintendent for putting that in. I'm excited to see that we can reach out to the students that we might have missed this past week. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Patterson. Yes, Vice President Whitehurst-Payne.
Would you just clarify for our listening audience the difference between the California Department of Education state requirements versus ours for the district?
Sure. So there are minimum requirements that the state requires, and our district goes above and beyond, as do most districts. I think an example of that would be the state of California requires 3 years of English, whereas the majority of districts in the state of California require 4. So there are minimum requirements, and so what this says is that we will follow the minimum requirements, and if students have accomplished that, they will receive a diploma during this time of 2021.
Aaron, after the process of consultation around retention, who makes the final decision?
So the staff will come together and have a parent meeting, and both sides will share an individualized plan for our students. So it's a partnership together with our families. One of the reasons why we are not activating this, and it's just an information, is because there's a window of time, and we want to make sure that our staff is on campus to work with our families.
Superintendent G.
Yeah, I think it's important, based on AB 104, and the guidelines say that the agency, so the school district and the principals acting on behalf of the district would make that final decision. Okay. And I think, as Dr. Richardson said, there are criteria to examine that. So it's not arbitrary, capricious. It is very objective, based on guidelines set out by 104.
Okay. And do we have any understanding yet, would the parent have a right to appeal the decision made by the district?
We would take the appeals. That would go up through learning and leadership.
Okay, so appeal to the district, and it would sort of kind of go up the chain. Yeah, okay.
And so we're putting together the process to share with our families and communicate it, not just on retention, but also the pass, no pass grades, because both of them are within a window. Yeah. And we're waiting for staff to be on campus to support our families.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very clear. Thank you. And I know a lot of parents are have questions about how the process will work around both retention and grading. So thank you. Yep. Okay, if no other comments or questions on that item, we will move on to our board consent agenda. Can we get a motion for the items F1?
So
and F2?
moved.
Second on that.
Moved by Trustee Beiser, seconded by Vice President Whitehurst Payne. Trustee Patterson,
Aye.
Trustee McQuarrie,
Aye.
Trustee Beiser,
Aye.
Trustee Bazo,
Aye.
Vice President Whitehurst Payne.
Aye.
And Barrera, aye. Okay, and we'll move on to item G1, which is our Career Technical Education Committee annual update to the board. Superintendent.
Thank you, President Barrera. It is my pleasure to welcome Sarah Vielma, who will be presenting on behalf of the district, and, oh, here she comes. And I also want to, as she's coming up, thank our co-chair, Terry McKerney, and the committee who will be presenting this evening. And know that this report does cover last year and this year. And I'm very excited in this new role. I had a chance to meet with a few folks to talk about great opportunities for our students in terms of access to what they're planning to do after completing courses and after graduation, and thinking about possible guest speaker opportunities and access to trade centers. So this is a great opportunity, and thank you very much for being here this evening and presenting on behalf of the district.
Thank you, and Superintendent Dr. Jackson and Board of Trustees. We're very pleased to be able to present to you today the CTE Advisory Committee's annual update. So Terry McKerney has been our chairperson for our committee for the past several years. So we have a really great, strong committee, and he's going to lead the presentation, and then I'll be available to assist for any questions.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here again. I appreciate the chance to come before you and talk about career technical education in the district. I think it's one of the good news stories, and I'm not a parent and I'm not an educator, so I'm talking to you as a member of the business community that wants to hire the kids that we educate here in San Diego. So if I could get the next slide, please. I was told I had told on the way over here that I had 5 minutes to give this presentation. The staff did a terrific job putting together a briefing of about 24 slides, so I don't know how long we'll go through this, but we'll see. But let me do some things they do in the Pentagon first, and that is every briefing in the Pentagon now starts with what they call the bluff, the bottom line up front. So let me give you the bottom line up front just in case I get the hook before we get through all the slides here. First of all, the CCTE programs weathered the COVID storm fairly well, even used the opportunity to upgrade some facilities, which are very important, of course, to the CCTE programs. We've increased the articulation, that is the movement, the acceptability at the community college level of our courses, so there's a transfer of course material or course accreditation from the district into the career college or to the community colleges. We've increased the number of students that are completing the pathways. You'll see a slide on that. And I think maybe most importantly, that vision we had of this continuum of K-12, middle school, into high school, and then into college. That has been increased, as you see, in the way we're executing the programs and in the philosophy behind them. So, slide, please. Just a quick summary here. Again, we have 12 of 15 of the California industry sectors in action across our schools. We are doing more middle school as well as high school. And you can see there the 4 tenets there that we try to bake into the programs. Next, please. Slide, please. Where are we? The goal of the program, as you see, is a strong K-12 workforce. And I want to emphasize in that first paragraph there, we are looking at the jobs that we need in the San Diego region. So that's the emphasis of what we're trying to shape within the CCTE programs here. Next. I'm going to talk very quickly about 2 grants that are very important to us. These grants basically underpin our facility development. And so the first one we'll talk about is this the CTIG grant. And you can see there what the CTIG grant is supposed to be doing for us and how it's shaped and the things we have to use that money for. You see the talk about equity and also broadening, making sure that our programs are available across the spectrum of students and schools we have here in the district. Next, please.
They're doing it, but yeah, you're doing good.
They're doing that. So this is what you'd expect out of a good career technical education program that's aimed at preparing students for college or for careers. Out of these 12 things, let me just take a look at the first one and the second one real briefly. They're important to me. The first there where we talk about student-centered delivery of service, that means teachers. Again, I'm not an educator, so I'm not using edu-speak. But I've met a lot of these teachers, and they're terrific, terrific educators. Most of our CCET teachers come to us as a second career. They've already had a successful career in their technical field. Then later in life, they decide they want to come and give back to high school students. That's where we get our teachers from. Take a look at that last bullet there. We talk about strong partnership with industry, and again, as I mentioned, that's where I'm coming at this from. Industry, locally here in San Diego, wants to keep our graduates here and provide good jobs that they need for the 21st century. Again, a goal of the program among those 12. Next, please. This year, again, even with COVID, we had a chance to increase and develop our facilities. So what the district did is they applied for matching money under the state, applied for 18 programs, got 10. You see the 10 reflected there. And one thing I'd like to point out about this, take a look at what I just said about making sure we're offering opportunities across the district. So you see there, for example, at Hoover, we have health sciences and medical technology. At University City, we're doing child development. So we're broadening these opportunities so we're not stovepiping these programs. We're not demographically being selective about where we're offering these programs and within school communities. Next, please. Next, please. The Perkins grant is a pretty important federal grant for us. You can see in the lower left there the things that the program reviews and holds us to. They even interview me when they come out to assess the Perkins performance. Then across, what you see are the things that the program expects us to be doing. We're going to look at the first one there, which is a comprehensive needs assessment, because that's kind of the key for our own introspection and our own development. So go to the next slide, please. These are the elements that we look at when we do that needs assessment. Let you read them, but you can see how they kind of transition the whole realm of things that we expect good curriculum to do.
This one is the priorities and strategies.
So yes, the priorities, and these are the strategies to achieve those. Next, please. Take a look at some numbers here. So as I mentioned earlier, we have about 22,000 students enrolled in CCTE programs. Again, about half of the students in the district at one time or another will take a CCTE course. And they're, again, popular across the range of students, from the GATE kids to the kids with special needs, all the way through the communities we serve. What we're looking at here is those students that complete a pathway. So what you see is the enrollment there, and then you see the number of kids who complete a pathway and the number of kids that don't complete the pathway. You could say that's not very efficient when we're looking at about 1/3 of the students completing a pathway. There's a lot of reasons kids don't complete a pathway. A lot of it's scheduling, a lot of it's availability of courses, but the long and short of it is, for the most part, we've got about 1/3 of our kids who take CCET courses actually able to complete a pathway. Now, I do want to point out that 5,000 of our students are middle school students. So when I talk about that effort that's really been fairly recent over the last couple of years of reaching down and creating that spectrum of middle school to college, we've been fairly successful at that. Next slide, please. CCET courses are good for kids just in their general academics, not just related to the skills that they're learning relative to the profession. So if you take a look at the kids that have completed a pathway, above the district average, 73% proficient in English, 74% proficient in math. So the kids that are completing these pathways are our best students. Now, recognize also that we made a serious effort over the last couple of years to align the CCTE courses to the A to G framework. So kids taking these courses, not only completing the pathway and developing those skills and certifications, they're also setting themselves up for college by completing the A to G. Next, please. So again, 27% of the kids who take CCET courses do complete the pathways. I know that sounds low, as I mentioned earlier, but do take a look at that graph, which you can barely see, and you'll see that our numbers are going up every year. Regardless of whether we got more kids in the district, less kids in the district, more are completing the pathways. Next, please. We now have 14 pathways that are aligned with the articulation into community colleges. So a couple months ago, I know you as a board met with the community college district, listened into that meeting, and that was one of the topics I know you guys talked about. So we have 26 pathways total. 14 of those now provide college credit for the kids who complete them. Next, please. To dive down a little bit, on the left you see the pathways agreement, articulation agreement we have now, excuse me, and you see the negotiations that are going on currently to get those other programs articulated. Next, please. As I mentioned before, we do emphasize student outreach, and that again goes across the spectrum for the kids down in 8th grade. We try to get the kids in 8th grade aware of what the programs that are offered to them next year when they go to high school are. That's aligned by the clusters, and at the same time we are trying to help our kids do college applications and use an online experience. That online experience was very important during COVID. Next slide, please. So these are the online experiences that we did during COVID. I realize the numbers don't look very good when you look at some of them, but one thing I would draw your attention to is the spectrum of activities and partnerships that we had as we did these online experiences for our kids while they were stuck at home. Next, please. This is a quick look at some of our summer experiences. Again, keeping the kids busy during the summer. Next, please. Next, please. And quickly take a look at the goals that we have before us now. As we move forward, we are trying to work through the clusters, again, to increase that number of middle school kids that either are aware of what they can do when they go to college, or to high school the following year, or to even get them in programs that we're offering down at the middle school level. Next, please. Just a quick look at the CTAC. I want to point out to you these volunteers, a great group of volunteers, come from a variety of backgrounds that have experience in manpower, experience in education. We have a student on the CTAC as well. Next, please. And finally, I need to pay homage here to our CCTE staff. A couple of years ago when I gave you the brief, I mentioned that we were looking at falling numbers of the staff, and we didn't have the people we needed at in the district office to do some of these goals that we were trying to. Articulation, for example. Well, now you see we've got somebody assigned to the articulation problem full-time, pretty much. So that concludes my brief, excuse me, and subject to your questions, if you have any, Sarah will be glad to answer them.
Terry, thank you so much. It was a great report and very succinct. Board members, any questions or comments for Terry or Sarah? Vice President Whitehurst-Payne.
I'm not sure about this, but the Level Up program, maybe somebody can answer this. Have we been able to get any of any traction there between our Level Up program and what you guys are trying to do with internships and ways to access so that more children are being served?
Yes, so this year we were able to offer CCTE programs through the Level Up experience and CTE enrichment programs. We also partnered with the San Diego County. We were offering a career pathway internship class already, and so we already had students that had signed up for that career pathway internship course, and then we were able to place students and support their placement into San Diego County, for example, internship. And we had teachers in place who supported the process and also meeting with those students to prepare them for that internship so that they would be successful. And then we also used other partners. So we also used our own internal food services department, and we were able to place some students there. And then other partners that we had were able to take some interns as well. So yes, and then we were also able to offer design thinking and some programs for students in both sessions as well. We had about 350, probably 400 students total if we're counting all of the different programs. We did some online and then some in the classrooms.
Thank you. That was a great report. I just had more of a clarification question around the modernization of facilities, and you had certain schools listed. Are those existing programs that they're like enhancing, or are those new programs, and does that pertain just to like the physical layout of the school, or is that an actual part of the curriculum that they're enhancing, or?
Well, that was a facility grant. It was matching funds between the state and the district, and it was for facility improvement. So don't think we didn't put any new facilities in. We just enhanced the programs that were at the schools.
Yeah, it was very interesting. We submitted, as Terry mentioned, 18 applications for modernization. There is one new program, and that is at Morse High School, and that's in the agricultural and natural resources sector, which we do not have a school that has a pathway in that area. In the initial round of funding, we were not funded. It was very close to being funded based on our scores. And then we were recently notified, actually a few months ago, that we were able to fund that program as well. So now we have the 10 when initially we had been awarded for 9. So we do have the one new program. All the others are existing pathways, and we applied to modernize the facilities that they were in already. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Trustee Patterson.
Thank you, Trustee Pereira. I just wanted to ask, so this data you're presenting us, the 73 and 74%, are pretty high numbers that I just have to say, when I opened up this presentation to review, it almost seemed too good to be true to some extent. And I just wanted to hear from all of you. Could you comment on these numbers, talk a little bit about them? Like, I've actually asked the statistics to be run again since I can so I could see some of the data myself, just because it's so incredible that I feel like if this is exactly what it says, then we're on to something significantly bigger than those two slides right there.
Well, I'll be honest with you, when Sarah and I sat down and went through this a week ago or so in preparation, I asked the same question, so I had them go back and validate it. I do want to stress, though, that what this means, those are the percentages of kids that complete the pathway and then do the assessment, for proficiency. And again, my take on this, and we've heard this before, that the kids who stick it out with the pathways, they're good students. They're good students anyway. That's my take on it as an outsider.
Vice President.
And my take on it is, if indeed it's true, then we should have every child in a pathway program. Because that's success.
I mean, I've often felt
which
that
is what we've been saying.
I think every kid should go through a pathway, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Again, I'm not a parent any longer, but if you look at the discipline, if you look at the discipline that's injected into those programs and the things that go along with it, because they're oriented toward practical work, the things you learn by having to get up and go to work and as well balance your academic load. The kids that stick it out, the kids that go through it truly are our best of the best, I think.
Yeah, and I would just add, I know the same thing I felt when I saw those numbers, and I've asked to double check and check again, but it is those students that have completed a pathway. And so they're not completers until they're graduating, and then we're looking at the previous year's 11th grade assessment. So we are seeing higher numbers than average, even with our subgroups. So even when we're looking at students with disabilities, English learners, and socioeconomically disadvantaged. So there is something, I think, to be said about students that are completing a pathway while they're also, participating in their academic program.
Yeah, Vice President Whitehurst-Payne. Yeah.
I just want to say that last night we attended a forum, and I talked about the fact that I had 4 or 5 graduations, and ever since I've been on the board, as the students march across the stage, my one question to every student is, what are you doing now? Where are you going? What are your plans? If it's going in the military, I'm asking which branch and commenting on that. If it's going to college, where are you going to college? What are you doing? And for me, this is what school has to be about. We've got to help students to think through what they're going to do after they finish high school. It's not just some place you get up and roll out of bed and go to every day. There has to be some direction, some focus. This is leading to something else. I want to be a teacher. Okay, this is a first step. Then I need to go to college. Then I need to get a teaching credential. Then I need to get a job. Or if I want to go into the restaurant business, or whatever it is. And so for me, this ties in with what I was talking about last night. You've got to have a focus, and I told the superintendent that I'm evaluating staff based upon what students tell me when they walk across. If they tell me, I don't know, I have to think about it. I don't know which school. I mean, please, this is the end of the school year, and you haven't thought about it in 12 years. So my expectation, and I realize I'm only one person, but I expect students to come through school knowing at least, or having some idea about what they want to do or where they want to explore further or whatever. And this program helps them to focus. Yes, I've explored this. I don't want to do that, or I want to go in this field, or whatever. But don't just roll out of bed and come to school because your parents make you do it, but help students to figure out what it is I want to do with the rest of my life. Anyway, that's my soapbox. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. McQuarrie.
Yeah, I'd stand up on that soapbox as well with Trustee Sharon Whitehurst-Payne and with Sarah and Terry. I think the comments they've made in responding to Trustee Patterson's question is very, very relevant. I think students, it gives them a reason for going to school. It gives them a practical application. It gives them a reason for why do I read, why do I do math, how do we do geometry, what is the, and it gives, it's aspirational. I know when a course that helped me tremendously when I was going through school was middle school, and it's where I did mechanical drawing and woodshop. And when I was doing mechanical drawing, fractions made a lot of sense. I knew how to measure and draw and figure things out. And then when I went to woodshop, I could apply that to making products. And then what that allowed me to do is when I graduated from high school, I went into the construction trade. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't had that earlier experience in woodshop and mechanics. And then when I graduated from Berkeley, my first job was in industry as a quality control inspector and doing production control. And I was able to get that because I understood mechanical drawings. I could use inside-outside calipers. I could do measuring. I could make sure that the device that was manufactured was in compliance with governmental contracts. And so it was inspirational for me. It gave me a reason for going to school, and it also was extremely practical. So I'm encouraged that we have a CCTE program that is well developed, that is providing students with these skills and pathways. And it's impressive that we have 14 of the 15 industrial areas represented within our school system. So thank you very much for a quality program. Thank you, Terry, and your advisory team, and Sarah and your CTE team that put these programs together, and making sure that our students have these real world experiences that allow them to understand why they're in school and give them an opportunity to create skills that allow them to pay for the education as they graduate from high school and they move on into other areas. So thank you very much for an excellent report, and I'm pleased to see that we're moving forward in so many areas.
Thank you, Dr. McQuarrie. Trustee Patterson.
Well, my question.
Oh, okay, there. Go ahead, Dr. McQuarrie.
What are we doing in our middle schools? What are we doing? Is it counseling? Is it awareness? Or is it real hands-on, like wood shop and mechanical drawing and metal shop or electronics?
Great question and points to all of you. So our middle school program is a robust program. We have about 5,000 students that are participating in CTE courses. And they are aligned to the courses that we have and pathways that we have at the high school level. So they are getting classwork and real-world experience and working on projects in the middle school. One of the other things that we're excited about going into next year is an expansion of our college and career exploration platform. So with partnership with our instructional technology department, we're now going to be able to offer a platform that is K-12. So our elementary students will also be able to get started on the platform. Our middle school students will be able to do some more exploration, and then our high school students as well. So that'll be able to begin to allow conversations from teachers and counselors to begin working with students as they're planning for their futures and their next steps.
Terrific.
I want to.
Yes, sir.
My observation on that too is I think that it's an increase in the awareness that we've talked about several years ago, the increase of awareness of these programs to counselors, because it's the counselors that are talking to the kids, and again that kind of smooth transition from middle school to high school that information that's shared allows.
That's great. Trustee Patterson?
Thank you, Trustee Barrera. I just wanted to start off by saying I think it's really appropriate of us to, we're looking at why more students aren't taking it, looking at what is available at that specific school, and recognizing those limitations when you're attending your community school specifically and what's specifically offered there. So I look at my school specifically and I say, hey, I'm not really looking to be a STEM major. I'm more of a humanities person, but my school is very, very tailored to STEM. Luckily, I can still excel there. I can do well, but that is a good example where you're going to have a little bit of a different approach. If you were to ask me to enroll in a CCTE course, something I think of immediately. And then my question would be, based off of our CCTE enrollment, I still do see a gender gap generally, and you all did a good job highlighting that with the data. If I could hear, what are we doing to confront that? And definitely we see in our earlier data on this 2019-2020 slide, we still do see that gender gap getting a little bit better as we go to concurrent comp on 1920, but I wanted to hear a little bit more about that if you could comment on that.
Yeah, thank you, Zachary, for pointing that out and bringing that up, because it is something that I know we notice when we go into classrooms, and it's an engineering classroom, and there's a lower population of female students. So we have been looking at that data for every course and every pathway to see where is there underrepresentation. And then some of the strategies that we've been using or been asking our teachers to use is to think about that when they're doing recruitment or when they're actually promoting their pathway, that they're thinking about how are they promoting their pathway, and using examples of successful people that are underrepresented in these fields. So we have some examples of projects where a school studied STEM stories, and they highlighted female STEM scientists as a way to increase and allow students to be able to see themselves in those areas and in those pathways. So it is something that we need to continue doing and to improve, because you are right. As you can see in the data, there is a lower representation of females overall in the CTE program. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up as well.
One thing, though, that struck me when I looked at the data, and you've got that slide that's got the bars on, if you go to the right side and you take a look at the completion, you find that gap closes pretty considerably with the kids who stick it out, male and female. That's encouraging to see.
Yeah, no, thank you, Terry. And I wanted to pick up on that because I don't think anybody on this board believes that it's a coincidence that students who complete a career pathway do really well. And but one of the things that I think both you and Sarah mentioned is we may be creating unintentionally barriers ourselves that get in the way of students to complete those pathways. So if there are issues around scheduling or availability of courses, that's really kind of on us, as a system to remove those barriers. And so, we want to make sure that as we're thinking about our overall approach, to middle and high school, that we're encouraging and making possible the opportunity for all of our students who want to go through and complete a pathway to be able to do that. So I don't know if either of you or superintendent even, has a thought about that.
I do, and I'm going to get punched by Sarah as soon as we leave the room, and then Dr. Richardson's going to smack me too. But I think one of the most important things, and again, looking at this is for my, it's the support of the school administration, particularly the school principal, that makes these programs go.
Yeah.
And school principals kind of have the veto on whether or not a particular program is taught at their school, because they do have to do the hiring. And I understand some of the complexities relative to the principal having to balance his or her budget for staff and the need to fill FTEs and so forth. But the commitment of the principal to the programs is something that has struck me all along as being so important to these programs. And frankly, I've heard that from parents and the kids just walking around about that. They can sense that too, so.
Yeah, and I would add that this past period of time that we've been online, we've seen, thinking creatively about scheduling, or also every effort that everyone is doing to close achievement gaps early gives students more opportunity to take more courses in the pathway. So it's very important, all of the work that we're doing. I would say, though, that during this time of online experiences, our department even has found that we were able to broaden the reach to students. And so we were able to offer experiences and partner with organizations and really offer it to all students, which in the past we maybe hadn't. We had only focused on RCT programs and teachers to deliver some of those experiences. So that's definitely something that we want to continue going forward as a way to broaden the reach to more students.
Thank you. I think it's also important, I made note that we as a staff need to pay attention to looking at schedules.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about the 4x4s and opportunities and schedules, but thinking about how do we support this notion of increasing the numbers of completers. I think that's clear. I think Trustee Patterson made note. And increasing the number of underrepresented students in certain paths. I think we can focus there. I know we have some goals here that were laid out. And also, how do we think about removing some of the barriers to the pathways? And we have to look at this from a district level, as well as supporting our principals who want to do this, because we do have competing factors, as we talked about, thinking about A to G.
Yes.
And also meeting, as was mentioned, in terms of FT. So we have some things to think about, and I've made note, and we'll be discussing and working towards that.
Appreciate that, Superintendent. As we remember when we made the decision that for A to G for all, that A to G was going to be our default graduation requirement, we know that so much of the work to get there was about access, and building out, those master schedules in our schools that would allow, students to go through and complete that. So, if we agree, and I think all of us do, with Vice President Whitehurst Payne's goal that really we should see all of our, students, that should be our goal, completing, a career pathway. It's that work, that we need to go through internally. That's important. A couple other thoughts. I saw, and it was exciting, that behavioral and mental health is one of the new articulation agreements that we're trying to get to. So important, right now, and so consistent with the priorities that we're building. It also occurs that, we're working in developing a future teacher pipeline. But this might fit right in, that some of those students who go through that pathway might come back into the education system and be in our schools as our counselors and school psychologists and other, mental and behavioral health professionals. So it could be growing our own pipeline there as well. And the last thing I'll just point out is I've gotten a couple of texts from our current United States Deputy Secretary of Education, our former superintendent, who said that the administration has been announcing investments in workforce development, including specific investments in career pathways within our schools. So we know that we've got, again, the potential for real resources, coming into our schools, to be able to make this work going forward. Vice President, yeah.
Well, that ties into something that was in my mind about, you said we only had one new one that was added. We had 9, now we have 10 grants. And I noted, unfortunately, only one of my schools in District E, Morris, was on that list. So what do we need to do to get in the mix here? What do we need to do to get some of these monies that the former superintendent is talking about? That's why I wanted her there, so we can get some more monies.
And that grant was only for facilities, but all of the other funding sources that we use now, both federal and our state funds, go to all of our programs. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Well, as always, amazing presentation. It's such exciting work that's on the cutting edge of where, we need to be taking education. Terry, thank you as always, for your commitment, and to the members of the committee. And Sarah, thank you, for your leadership and the work of your team.
You're welcome, but a lot of credit goes to Sarah and her group that's, frankly, I think went through some lean times, rebuilt, and you can see where we're going forward. And I'm sorry I took longer than.
You were great. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
Both of you. Yeah. Okay, we will now get an update on our superintendent search, and we've got the chair of the superintendent search committee, Chris Wilson, here to give us an update. Chris, can you go ahead?
Good evening. I'm sorry. It's good to be with you, trustees and staff, parents, students, and to talk about the advisory committee's work on the superintendent search. My name is Christopher Rice Wilson. I'm the chair, and it is an honor to lead this group of 48 members of the committee, representing a diverse and wide swath of the San Diego Unified School District community. Stakeholder groups, parents, students are involved, teachers, just about every constituency of the San Diego Unified School District is represented on this large committee of 48 people, and we've had really good attendance at our meetings. We've been able to make quorum for the last 3 or 4 meetings, which is really good because it's allowing us to move forward. We've been meeting regularly since May, when former Superintendent Cindy Martin was appointed to her new post in Washington, D.C., and in that time, we've been able to review applicants for the consulting position to help us gather data from the community and make a recommendation to the board, which the board approved, which was the National Center for Education and the Economy. They're going to help us gather community feedback, analyze the data, and learn about what stakeholders are interested in the qualities, the abilities, the vision of the next superintendent to replace the former superintendent, Cindy Martin. Part of that work is going to be facilitating community input sessions, which there are a total of 20 scheduled between now and the end of September, which will help us to gather data from the community. The first 10 start next week. I'm sorry, at the end of this week on the 29th, and carry through September. And then the final 10 will be specialized meetings with concerned stakeholder groups, such as parent groups, educator groups, and other community stakeholders who have a vested interest in the next superintendent being successful at what we're going to hire them to do. These input sessions will be virtual, they will be in person, and they're open to anyone. While they're structured around communities and the school clusters and stakeholder groups, each community input session is open to whoever would like to attend, and folks can get more information at the district website, sandiegounified.org, and It does require, for the virtual meetings, it requires a pre-registration so that you can get the link and the information to the virtual meeting. And then the community input sessions that are in person will be posted on the board site so people can attend in person. And we will be following all COVID recommendations and precautions, such as the board is following right now by masking up. And again, although a session might be slated for University Heights or Mira Mesa or the southeast area of San Diego, people are welcome to attend any community input session on the schedule. We want to make sure that people don't feel excluded in any way, and therefore all the sessions are open to whoever might want to attend and participate in the important process of, stating what we want to see in our next superintendent. From those input sessions, we will gather the important data and analyze that data and develop a job posting. That's one of the tasks that the advisory committee was given by the board. We are taking that task seriously. We plan to work with the district's HR department in developing that job posting to make sure. I'm sorry for the traffic. I had to go to my kids' soccer practice, and so I'm doing this at the park right now. So we will take that data and generate the job posting, and that job posting will be posted globally so that we can attract the most qualified, the most interested, and the most appropriate candidates to take San Diego Unified into the next phase of growth. Those applications, the application period will be, roughly speaking, October, November. Then the advisory committee will make a selection of 10 candidates to put before the board, and that will allow the board to select 3 candidates who will go before some sort of public input process before making their decision in December. If folks are interested in scheduling a input session for your stakeholder group, you can email at superintendentsearch@sandy.net. superintendentsearch@sandi.net. And we hope to have great turnout. The committee members are working with their groups and working in the community to ensure community participation. We had the chance to experience what the town halls and what the community input sessions will look like. The first one was conducted with the search committee, and there was a robust conversation, very good feedback, and some very critical input from the committee around how to tailor these input sessions to the community in a way that the community feels like they can participate and that their input will be utilized and valued by the committee.
Chris,
and that completes my presentation.
No, Chris, thank you.
I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much. Board member questions or comments for Chris? Yes, Trustee Bazzo.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I just have a few questions, more around how to coordinate, because this is going to be a large number of sessions, a large number of people, and trying to coordinate all of that is going to take some skill. I was wondering, with the data that you're collecting, is it just going to be open-ended? Were there questions that are being developed, or are you also providing like a survey for people to come fill out when they come into a room or into a Zoom? And yeah, I'll start with that. Thank you.
Yeah, the district has hired NCEE to facilitate the input sessions. And so I want to be very clear that the committee will not be facilitating the sessions. That will be NCEE's job. And they're going to collect data in a number of ways. They're going to do surveys. They're going to have discussions. They're going to collect written feedback, verbal feedback. They're recording all of the sessions, and they are going to translate those sessions into data that the committee can digest, and they're going to help the committee in digesting that data and in a way that allows us to generate a job posting that reflects the feedback from the community. So as far as coordination, the district staff and the committee are working with NCEE, but NCEE has the lion's share of the work in terms of coordinating the session.
And then my other question is just around the actual forums themselves. And I'm assuming this group that you guys have selected have skills in the area of just any kind of community town halls. It's very easy to get sidetracked or off track because there's so many issues and people feel very strongly, right? It's education for their kids, about keeping the conversation on track. And also, are the sessions going to be listed anywhere like on the website where we can direct parents to if they're asking for, maybe they can't make a live session in Mira Mesa, but maybe they want to log on to a virtual session. Will there be like one place we can direct people that have all that information? Thank you.
Yes, folks can go to the board website. The district website has all the information, and the communications department for the district has a very robust plan to get this information out into the community. That really depends on stakeholders to bring their base and their constituent groups to the process. And the committee is really enthusiastic about getting the word out as well. Being that we have 48 members, we have just about every constituent group, every stakeholder group represented. And even if a group is not represented, they're within a network of someone who is on the committee. And so we are getting that word out far and wide about all of the sessions and all of them being open and people not having to attend the session in their cluster or their neighborhood, but being able to log into a virtual session, if they don't feel comfortable going in person. And if they want to go in person, go into any in-person session they like. And that information is all on the board website, on the district's website.
Thank you, Trustee Bozzo. Any other board questions or comments for Chris? Chris, thank you again for your leadership. We know that you as a committee actually went through kind of a practice town hall with NCEE, to kind of figure out how the process looks, but also to make improvements before, NCEE goes out to the community. So we know how hard you're working. We know many members of the committee have already reached out to their own networks, to schedule the community forums. So, we couldn't be more appreciative of the effort that you and the committee are putting into this process.
Well, thank you very much. We feel strongly supported by the district staff and the board in doing this work. And, the ultimate goal is to get a superintendent who can move and put the vision that the community and the board are generating in partnership with the staff into place so that we can see better outcomes for our students and our communities here in San Diego Unified.
Thank you. And Chris, thank you, because that reminds me we need to acknowledge the hard work of Marty Stoltz and Julie Martell in our communications department that has been supporting the work of the committee. So great stuff. Good. Thanks so much, Chris. Thank you. Okay, we will.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Move on to item G3, and this is the approval of the agreement with SDA to provide release time for the SDA Vice President.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, a motion from Vice President Whitehurst Payne and a second from Trustee Beiser. Trustee Bozzo?
Aye.
Trustee Beiser?
Aye.
Trustee McQuarrie?
Aye.
Vice President Whitehurst Payne?
Aye.
And Barrera, aye. And G4, the ratification of the MOU with the bargaining units related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Beiser, seconded by Trustee Bozzo. Trustee Beiser.
Aye.
Trustee McQuarrie.
Aye.
Trustee Bozzo.
Aye.
Vice President Whitehurst Payne.
Aye.
And Barrera, aye. Okay, and that brings us to the superintendent's consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Beiser. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Patterson. Any discussion or questions? Okay, if not, Trustee Patterson.
Aye.
Trustee McQuarrie. Trustee Beiser.
Aye.
Trustee Bozzo.
Aye.
And Barrera, aye. Okay.
Whitehurst Payne, aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vice President Whitehurst Payne. Yeah. Okay. That brings us to non-agenda public testimony. We do have a large number of speakers, so we're going to limit public testimony to 1 minute per speaker, and we will call you in the order of and switch out. And we will enforce the 1 minute requirement, so please be concise with your comments. Okay, and we're going to call you in order. Mike. We will clear this auditorium right now if we don't listen to the speakers as they are called in order. We'll begin with Mike George. And after Mike George, we'll call Duke Sobek and Amanda Ferrante.
I'm not listening to the people.
President Barrera, Superintendent Jackson, board members, I actually had a 2-minute prepared speech, so I'm going to go off the cuff right now.
Okay.
I'm Mike George. I'm a retired administrator in San Diego Unified. I've been a resident of Tirasana for over 44 years. My children have attended all public schools in Tirasana. My wife and I have been extremely involved in our local schools since the day we moved in. As a matter of fact, we moved to our street to live next to Gene Farb Elementary School, which never opened as an elementary school, but very, very involved in our schools. Also, the different programs in the schools to support our children. My concern about the entire selection of a new name for Sarah High School is that we as a community were not properly notified. We were never involved. We were not allowed to be involved. I bring with you today, which I believe a copy on page 5, is a statement from the editor of the Tirasana Times. Tirasana Times has been our local newspaper for almost 50 years. We also have a very expensive billboard that the Sarah Foundation paid for. We were never notified by any of these. I would like to request a redo. I don't know if that's possible, but we would like to be part of the discussion on what school name we should have.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Duke Sobek.
Hold. Let us vote.
Good evening, Board of Education trustees. My name is Duke Sobek, and it's unfortunate you're not given enough time to speak to you tonight. Leaving us out of this decision is not just unfair, but shows a lack of gratitude. As elected officials this should concern you highly. Leaders and elected officials are most effective if they have their hand on the pulse of the community. They need to know how the people they represent feel about an issue before decisions are made. You need to know when we gather signatures at Tirasana locations such as Vaughn's and Ace Hardware, residents see our signs and tables, and 99% of them walk and even sprint to us. They are furious with your decision and want to be heard. They indicate that they became with a name change through people in this room and many more community members who are sharing the information. Sarah High School leadership was disingenuous, providing false facts to you regarding how the community was concluded in the process. They didn't even care to remember what a key partner the Tirasana community has been in every way, including huge financial support over $1 million. I respectfully request to reverse the decision to change the school's name and start the name change process over. It's the fair thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Amanda Ferrante, followed by Janet Bartel. Do we have Amanda with us? Okay, Janet Bartel.
Good evening. The irony is I'm standing beside the San Diego Board of Education, which was named after a Catholic saint, and that's what we're talking about today. In 1976, the committee in Tirasana chose to name their new school after a major figure in the history of San Diego and California. In the words of noted anthropologist and archaeologist Jack Williams, Sarah stands out as a figure who advocated a peaceful transition involving programs designed to improve the material lives of natives. He was a major advocate of Native rights. Let this Board of Education emulate the integrity of the San Francisco Board of Education, who in January 2021 rescinded their vote to rename 44 schools. Another board named after a Catholic saint. Thank you.
Jesse Keys, followed by Diane Keys.
Good afternoon. My name is Jesse Keys. The data the school administration and the naming committee presented to you actually shows that the majority of the people who were involved, I repeat, did not want Canyon Hills as a new name. The local school administration naming committee rushed and did an embarrassingly poor job. They set all of you up for community anger and adverse media publicity. So please immediately push the pause button for this name change. Stop spending money on any physical changes. Let everyone catch their breath and oversee a do-over. This time, do it by including all viewpoints. Serve notice to the community about how they can participate and challenge them to do so. Search out and secure honest and accurate historical information about Junipero Serra to make sure stakeholders can make an informed vote. Then with complete transparency, redo the survey. It will take guts, but it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Diana Keys. I'm a PTSA president at Sarah High School and past president of the Sarah Gate Parent Group. I'm a retired teacher and administrator from this school district. Last August, I received a ballot through the email, and I tried to vote. But I couldn't vote because I did not have a student ID number. And I wondered why it was even necessary to have a student ID number if you wanted to involve the community. So I emailed the principal and asked her how I could vote. And she did not give me any ideas on way to vote, and she didn't respond to my second email. So I waited, assuming I would get more information, either through the community council or the marquee on the corner of Tierra Santa Boulevard. But then all of a sudden, I found out that the board decided in March to change the name of the school, and I was shocked. I tried to vote. I wanted to vote, but my efforts had been ignored. So I'm only asking, as everyone else, to please consider our frustration and give us a chance to vote on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Alexandra Scoville, followed by Kim Tortolot.
Hello. Superintendent Jackson, President Barrera, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Dr. Alexandra Scoville. I'm a 33-year resident of Tierra Santa, a 2006 graduate of Junipero Serra High School. I'm a native San Diegan, was married at my church in Tierra Santa, and my husband and I bought our first home in Tierra Santa. I realize this group, Preserve Serra High, may appear to be comprised of only older folks, and that the younger generation is not interested or unwilling to invest time. I'm a doctor who barely gets to spend time with my one-year-old daughter. I'm also the president of the San Diego Optometric Society in San Diego, which takes up a lot of my free time as well. I'd be out there helping, but I'm just too busy. I understand that Principal Renfree advised the board that she reached out to alumni via email on the proposed change. Well, I didn't get an email. I haven't changed my email since high school. My twin sister, who is also an alumni, did not receive an email. My 7 other cousins who are alumni did not receive an email. Excuse me. Mr. Weiser, you are a math teacher. Wouldn't you say those are awful statistics for Principal Renfree reaching out to alumni? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kim Tortolot. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Kim Tortolat, and these are my 3 adorable children. I'm here on the behalf of my kids and advocating on behalf of many other parents and teachers around the district and state. Let me be clear, we're not advocating against masks, but instead we're advocating for parent choice. The CDC evidence is abundantly clear that young children are not affected by the coronavirus like other age groups. They're not super spreaders, and there is no significant risk of severe illness. For months, our kids and many others have enjoyed their lives mask-free. Look at the smiling face around the parks, playgrounds, SeaWorld, zoo, you name it, and I know you're enjoying that. The least affected by coronavirus are now forced to wear a mask. I use the term forced purposely because it's not our choice. We taught our boys last year how to read. They're going into 1st grade this next year. We taught them by our mouths. They taught them by sounding out words. They had to look closely at our faces. This past spring alerted teachers to the growing population of students with learning deficits. Students will continue to struggle with muffled mouths and teachers with masks where they can't see their faces. As a parent of a child who is immunocompromised, I know firsthand the fears that are associated with this. However, it was our choice how we handled situations, and we never forced others to follow suit of what we were doing.
Thank you. Could you please conclude?
I'm almost done. Okay. Our children are too little to fight this fight, and it's our job to stand up for them and free their smiles, allow them to free breathely, socialize, and then let them accelerate in learning without the hindrance of a mask if they choose to. We are already aware of the increasing negative effects children are being forced to with all the coronavirus mitigation measures. Have you ever thought that the risks of wearing a mask are far more detrimental than the benefits of wearing one?
Thank you.
And the last little part. I'm almost done, I promise. Don't forget that you sit here representing the will of the people. We are just a small fraction of the multitude of people around San Diego fighting for mass choice. You have the authority and the responsibility to make a difference here. I trust that you'll do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Much. Thank you. Okay, Henry Kurlik Segovia, followed by Duke. I don't know if that's Duke Sobek who already spoke, followed by Mike Rebello.
Okay, yes, I'm Henry Kurlik Segovia. I've been a visiting teacher for the district since January 1995. 40% of my assignments have been at Sarah High School. I'm of Spanish descent. I resent that my people, my heritage, have been subject to this opprobrium and this process. It could lead to the erasure of Spanish heritage in San Diego and the West in the name of nativism. I would tell you 2 things in parting. That progress is never achieved by simply replacing one form of chauvinism with another, and that you will never have good institutions if you have so little loyalty to people who have served you, and in my case, for 26 years, mostly at Sarah.
Thank you. Mike Rebello, followed by Greg Shen.
Good afternoon, Mike Rebello. I went to Sarah the first year it opened up back in 1976-77, graduated in 1979. Beautiful campus, reminded me of a country club. Still a beautiful campus. But I want to take the time to say, these are the emotions of the majority right here. Let's hear it, come on. A sincere thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the school board. This is an honor, it really is. A school board whose members are elected based upon the following: logic, fiscal responsibility, and lack of favoritism. I'm here today speaking on behalf of not just hundreds of fellow alums, but thousands of graduates covering the last 45 years of Sarah High School. We do not want the name changed. At this moment, I'd like to give out copies of Father Sarah's diary. Can I do that to each member?
Please hand it to Ms. Stoltz. Yeah,
Regarding the minute change, this really made everybody emotional here.
We understand.
Okay, you do understand. All right.
Yeah.
I have 3 young adult children, oldest one being 30 years old, all San Diego residents. I now have 3 beautiful grandchildren. So naturally, I have a vested interest in this school board and the decisions that you make which will affect them in the future. Now, Father Junipero Serra.
Mike, we'll have to ask you to conclude your remarks.
Almost done.
Okay.
I did not get a chance to vote on any school name. In fact, thousands of alums did not get a chance to vote. However, evidently with the flawed initial limited voting process, the majority actually were in favor of no change at all. So the question that begs to be answered is, why did the distinguished board members vote to change the name?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Greg Shen, followed by Beverly Raimondo.
I'm Greg Shen, a soccer coach at Sarah High. I wonder if I'd be asked to coach again after my talk, but I have to report to you that Sarah High School has become a zone of religious persecution and hostility to Catholics as a result of lies about Catholic history and lies about Father Sarah. Father Sarah was a peaceful man who respected the Native Americans, and all the Indians who joined the missions joined voluntarily. In 1775, there was an uprising. They killed a priest. Father Sarah insisted that his Kumeyaay attackers should not be punished, and if in the future he or any other friars were to be killed by natives, those natives should also be forgiven and not punished. At age 60 and in bad health, Father Sarah walked by foot from San Diego to Mexico City many months and back to plead for better treatment of the Indians. How can you say that Father Sarah was mean to the Indians? A school employee must be fair and not biased against any people for their religion. Your policy states, and I quote, employees who violate this policy shall be subject to discipline up to and including dismissal. Well, in 2013, 3 Sarah High employees dressed in blackface, and you suspended them for racial insensitivity. Today, at Sarah High, there's a large-scale religious discrimination and defamation and persecution. Esteemed board members, you must apply your policy fairly. You have been misled by many lies. The name change is based on a teenager's history report that was unsubstantiated.
We'll ask you to conclude, Greg.
And a hand-picked Native American lady of Native American descent who was against Father Sarah. But there are millions of people, 100 million Mexicans and more, including Kumeyaay, and the vast majority converted to Catholicism and appreciated Father Sarah, and they have been ignored. At Sarah High School, the voices of the coaches were ignored.
Thank you, Mr.
The tax-paying community.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yes, thanks. Beverly Raimondo, followed by Reina Remy. Or is Beverly or Reina here? Okay. Alma Venegas, followed by Suzanne Lockyer. Doesn't look like either of them are here. Beverly Rye, followed by Lisa Delano Wood. No, Beverly, and do we have, I think Lisa is on the Zoom. Oh, yeah.
Am I here?
Yes, go ahead, Lisa.
I apologize. Despite what these misguided, free their smiles folks want you to think, the data don't lie, and we are in a far more dangerous situation now than we were a year ago. Almost unnoticed given poor data sharing by our county and denial by those who can't be inconvenienced by a simple mask, there has been a very rapid spread of the Delta variant, which is far more infectious than the Alpha variant we've been dealing with since the start of the pandemic. The local situation here in San Diego has been startling to watch as our case rates have skyrocketed and now closely parallel LA's, and yet we have not followed suit as a county around indoor masking and employing other mitigation strategies that have clear effects on tamping down the spread of the virus. We must be talking now about how to best protect our kids against the Delta virus that's affecting the vaccinated far more than the older variant. Sadly, it's affecting the unvaccinated in more powerful ways as well, as preliminary data show that individuals become sicker faster and those that die do so more rapidly once intubated. Masking is important, but so is consideration of social distancing, smaller class sizes, staggering classes, etc. Please, let's get talking now. Since the start of school is only 1 month away, we can and should do more before we hit the apex, which is expected at the end of August.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. And I think I skipped over Reina Remy, who's on Zoom. Go ahead, Reina.
Yes.
I just want to second the person that just spoke about the concern with children only wearing masks indoors. The one thing we can do to keep our kids safe is to keep the guidelines that we had from last year and continue to have them throughout this school year, at least until our young children are eligible for vaccinations, that we can have them wearing masks all day through the school, which is one thing that we
I'm
can
sorry,
do.
Raina, we'll have to ask you to pause. You know, everybody here has a valid opinion that we want to hear. Some may disagree with your opinion, but it's our responsibility to listen and be respectful. So we ask you again, please listen and be respectful to every speaker, regardless of their opinion, of your opinion. Sorry, Raina, please continue.
Our students have missed out on a year and a half of school because of this pandemic. Please keep them safe so they can go to school in person. This is ridiculous. All we are asking for is to keep our kids safe. We have some social distancing and some masking that will protect our children. That's all we need to be able to keep our kids in school. Don't let them close again because it gets out of hand. The numbers are going up. Let's keep them safe all day long. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. We'll now go to Danielle Stewart, followed by Adam Fisher.
Hello, sorry. Give me just a moment. I apologize. Okay, so my name is Danielle Stewart, and I'm a parent of 3 middle and high school children in San Diego Unified. Although all my children are vaccinated, I care deeply about the public health and think it's vital that alarm bells be sounded in the second largest district in California. While unvaccinated people, including kids, are driving the majority of the spread, vaccinated folks are getting infected in higher numbers and are transmitting the disease. Unfortunately, data from Israel shows that the vaccines may only be about 40% effective against Delta variant infection. Against those data, the CDC announced today that vaccinated people who have a breakthrough infection have the same viral load and are thus likely as contagious as unvaccinated people. As of just 2 weeks ago, San Diego's case rate among purely vaccinated people jumped to a number that is 4 to 5 times higher than just 1 month prior. It is therefore imperative that we take steps to prevent the spread in schools where unvaccinated kids are most vulnerable. I'd like to urge the board to consider a special meeting to discuss necessary safety precautions to prevent COVID-19 from spreading throughout our schools this fall. And quickly, I'd like to make a note regarding the school name change. As a Potawatomi native, this very important name change starts the process of telling the truth, and the change will provide for a more accurate, ethical view of history. The mascot and Sarah himself are tied to the oppression of Native peoples, and I support the name change 100%.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Adam Fisher.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Adam.
Thank you. Hello, I'm a parent and a data analyst who's advised other school districts as well as Secretary Mark Galley on the pandemic. It's really striking how quickly new cases here have increased. San Diego's daily case rate is now 21.5, which is 67% higher than a week ago and over 10 times higher than roughly just 1 month ago. And cases in kids are increasing even faster, with the case rate for kids aged 0 to 9 doubling in the past week and quadrupling versus 4 weeks ago. In just 2 weeks from now, the case rates for kids will surpass its all-time peak that we saw last January. Finally, virtually all of California is now firmly in what used to be described as the purple tier, reflecting widespread infections. Given this, coupled with hospitalization rates that have tripled this month, we need to place a premium on how best to ensure a focus on safety. This can start with proper universal masking, ideally including encouraging 99% effective KF94s over 70% effective cloth masks, but we should also look at other steps. Finally, anyone arguing for mask choice is being illogical, as masks are essential to protect everyone, not just the wearer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I skipped over Beverly Raimondo, who's on Zoom. Beverly, if you're available. I know Beverly's here. Okay. We'll now move to Judith Lee Hosett, followed by Catherine Williams.
Hi. So I'm a parent of a 6th grader within San Diego Unified.
I have to say, all our kids have been through so much in the last 16 months, but they've made it so far, and we are almost at the finish line. We want them back in the classroom, but we also need to keep them safe until the COVID vaccine for the under 12s is available. We now see that with the Delta variant, kids do get COVID, they do suffer serious cases, and they can suffer from long COVID, just like adults do. We know that masks work, but they have to be the right masks, and they need to be worn correctly. We shouldn't have kids showing up with bandanas hanging off their noses with their parents thinking that they're keeping their kids and the kids around them safe. Schools should provide students with effective masks like KF94s and provide parents with information about effective masking so they can make intelligent decisions. We know that outdoor spaces are safer and that indoor spaces should be de-densified as much as possible and have the proper filtration recommended by the experts at UCSD. And schools really need to communicate better with parents. Parents want to know what filters have been installed, how often the air is exchanged, what the safety protocols are that have been put in place. They need to have this information so they can make decisions that are best for their children and so that they can work as partners with the schools. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Catherine Williams.
Hi, I'm a parent of 4 children in the district spanning elementary, middle, and high school. I'm urging the board to please take note of the sharply rising number of COVID-positive new cases, especially among kids and teens. As most of the younger kids are unable to be vaccinated, please plan now for effective mitigation measures so that we can keep the schools reopened safely throughout the year. Specifically, please offer free on-campus access to COVID testing for students, ensure clean classroom air via MERV 13 filters, maximize classroom spaces, and please require appropriate masking throughout the day. If we want schools to stay open, we need the district to take proactive action now to avoid multiple outbreaks during the school year. One last thing, I'm a Junipero Serra High alumni, and I fully support our student-led initiative for changing the name to Canyon Hills. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to Sandra Punta, followed by William Wallace. We have Sandra available.
Yes. Hi, President Ferrara. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I just wanted to get the word out on behalf of students and also an educator at San Diego Unified. I wanted to let you know about my experience, and while it's only one data point this summer, it's just a way to get the word out that I had many students that are really the most challenged students this summer that were hungry during summer session. And this happens because there's a food distribution at 1:20 p.m. and the breakfast is no longer served in the morning. And so we did math calculations for my young teens who are growing, and often many had not had their last meal for about 18 hours because the food distribution is at 1:20, and like so many teens, they don't get up in time to get to school and get breakfast before they come to summer session. And I know that this board and all educators want to know about how that experience impacts their learning. And I think that we have an opportunity to make sure that we're collecting breakfast. We're collecting students who need to have a little pause as they enter beyond just a temperature check to breakfast. We can offer ways to screen students for emotional support. Many students hadn't had their medications and expressed that to me. And so I see an opportunity to improve the experience as classrooms become deserts for food and water, and basic nutrition is really something that impacted our experience. And so I just wanted to let you know that I hope we can correct this with food distribution being timely for the needs of the experience, the student, rather than just we have enough food. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sandra. Thank you. And William Wallace. Followed by Matt Baker.
So what we're asking is we just want a choice. Put the responsibility and the burden on us, the parents, and make it a choice. That's the right thing to do. That's the American thing to do. Now, if you're going to sit up there and ignore us, well, let me tell you what's going to happen. We're only going to get bigger. We're going to get louder. We're going to spread to all the other districts up and down this godforsaken state that you're going to feel that we have become the mask around your face, suffocating you, making you uncomfortable with every breath you take, with the mask mandate you put on our children, muzzling them like dogs. And one more thing. This is my son's masks. He would be uncomfortable and hot after each day. He's not going to be wearing this fall. We're done. We're done with this. And making this a 1-minute thing, that's a very arrogant prick move by you, Barrera.
Thank you. Matt Baker, followed by Ashley Shuck. Do we have Matt Baker here? Okay, Ashley Shuck. Okay, thank you. It's Matt Baker. If you're available, you can go first, and then follow. Uh-huh.
Hello, thank you. As consumers, the natural right to freedom of choice is as vital as freedom of speech. To only entertain these natural rights without allowing them to be followed through in their natural rightful position to be exercised would and could notion a form of manipulation and unbalance. For all have the universal equal right to exercise foundational human rights. The receiving end of said rights being discussed, if space is not given to exercise them in their entirety, then the following natural balance now becomes unbalanced and gives way for an unbalanced response, because now the natural rights have been put out of place. With that being said, when that happens, it can be assumed that there is a reason for the oppressing of these rights and a strong notion that there is a subjective narrative to flatter one rhetoric over another, which then allows for the oppressors to then receive equal amount of pushback from those being oppressed. Now that there's an understanding of universal natural human rights that we all fall under, regardless of background or personal stance, acting in morally ethical regard is of high priority for quality of life, and a notion that should not be abused and confused with rights versus privilege. As society gets back to proper alignment with the correct order of placement in the child's life, may these words be given today be heeded with humility that the misunderstanding of right versus privilege is corrected by empowering the proper title in a child's life, the parent.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Matt Baker.
Greetings. I had a prepared statement, but as per the fashionable seems to be tyranny these days. You just make your dictates about what the names of the schools are. You make your dictates about whether children can wear masks. You make your dictates about how long our speeches are, when we all signed up for a 4-minute speech that we all prepared, and now we're all just told to just make something up off the top of our head, and then we get buzzed off the thing. So I'll speak to the people. Do you guys feel like you're in America anymore, or do you feel like you're in some kind of tin pot dictatorship which is trickling down to the smallest of you? Do you feel like you're going to escape the tyranny that you are helping? Do you like the fact that your children will be wearing masks forever? And when I say ever, I mean ever. You don't think the Delta variant's the last one to come? They're already talking about epsilon, theta. They're going to be like, oh, well, that one's not working anymore, so we must wear the mask one more time. Then pretty soon you're going to have to wear a hazmat to school. Why don't we all just kill ourselves? Okay? Now stop this crap.
All right. Terry Engel, followed by Raymond Williams. Is Terry Engel here?
Thank you. It is not healthy to require our children to wear masks all day at the schools. These masks are not properly fitted according to OSHA regulations. They are not supposed to be worn for that length of time for an entire school day. It cuts down on the children's ability to properly breathe. Oxygen levels fall precipitously when they put these masks on for any length of time. It causes them headaches, causes respiratory problems. Children are not at risk for the virus. They are absolutely healthy, and they should be kept healthy by being allowed to breathe. Also, vaccines should not be distributed on school grounds. This is a misuse of public school property. The people do not want our schools to be used to distribute experimental vaccine products, and it's still under emergency use authorization. Thank you.
Thank you. And Raymond Williams, followed by John Wiles. Do we have Raymond here? Yes, go ahead, Raymond.
How's it going? Raymond Williams. I coach at Mission Bay High School. I previously taught PE education and coached at Pacific Coast Christian Prep, which recently shut down due to the pandemic. I came here pretty much to be the voice of not just the people, but also the community. There's a major disconnect from the education board to the people and parents, and also I'm a father of 2 kids. I have one who goes to high tech, and I have one who goes to Porter Elementary in Southeast. Right now, there are active community leaders in the community who every month make sure that they go out in the community, get to these schools, talk to these students, teachers, just make an active presence to relate to them. Relate and show them that we're here to help. Right now, nobody here feels like we're able to relate. You guys are dictating everything, and to my knowledge, in America, we're pro-choice. And right now, the role you guys are setting is kind of going against what everybody stands for. So I challenge you guys not to just listen to us for a minute, but get out in the community. Get outside with some of these community leaders. Endorse us. Get outside, shake hands, and see what it feels like not to just wear a mask behind a desk and inside an air-conditioned room, but walk around like these kids. Shake hands and actually show like you care and relate, because right now, nobody feels like you guys care or like you guys are even willing to relate. So please do that.
And John Wiles.
Good afternoon. I'm a 30-year resident of San Diego, and I've worked in the school district, and I'm here to tell you guys how disappointed I am in your leadership or lack thereof. Who are you to dictate to our children? I'd like to ask the community members and the parents, who believes we should mandate masks for our kids and vaccine? Raise your hands if you believe that. You guys work for us. You need to listen to the community. The PCR test was proven false. Okay? This was by the inventor, Carrie Mellis, who said it was for detecting infectious bits of RNA and DNA, not for infectious disease. It's just been recalled. Okay, they cycled it up to get all these positive tests, to get all these cases, to get this lockdown, to bring in this bigger agenda. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. This is America. We're not China. We're not social credit. We don't mandate medicine. You need to respect the people. If you come at some of us with a jab, you're going to see how we're going to resist.
Thank you. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.